Thank God it's Friday. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday Business. Here's what will give you 55 minutes of current and relevant business talks. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We start from the global space as usual. Oil prices were a little changed as investors weigh the potential OPEC Plus output increase. Mixed economic news, conflicting tariff signals from the White House and China, and then there's the news from Russia-Ukraine war. So this morning, we see a 10% increase. That's about 0.2% on Brent, bringing that up to $66.22 a barrel. WTI is also in the green, 0.3%. At $62.43 a barrel. In the U.S., the number of people filing for unemployment benefits rose marginally last week, suggesting a resilient labor market despite economic turbulence caused by the tariffs on imported goods. Businesses are increasing prices, cutting financial guidance because of higher costs stemming from U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war, which has also roiled global supply chains. U.S. Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland President Beth Harmack is calling for patience on monetary policy and did not rule out changes by June if data suggested action was needed. Analysts have said that Trump's unsteady tariff policy has so far stopped the Fed from raising or lowering interest rates. Central bank hikes in order to fight inflation in an overheated economy or lower them to fight a recession and boost growth. Here in Nigeria, the federal government has prohibited the issuance of waivers for importing threaded pipes used in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Heineken Lukobiri, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, gave this directive to the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board at the commissioning of a coating plant in Lagos. Mr. Lukobiri also emphasized the need for local patronage to encourage similar projects in the sector. He's stressing the importance of local content policy to Nigeria's economy and assures that the government will continue supporting manufacturers to create jobs. We head to Washington now, where the World Bank has projected Nigeria's economy will grow by 3.6% this year, building on an estimated 3.4% expansion in 2024 as reforms begin to show signs of stabilizing the macroeconomic environment. The latest forecast contained in the spring 2025 edition of Africa's Pulse is more upbeat than the International Monetary Fund, which revised Nigeria's 2025 growth downward to 3%. The World Bank's projection is premised on improved performance in non-oil sectors, particularly services such as financial services, telecommunications, and information technology, as well as easing inflationary pressures and improved business sentiment. However, the Bretton Woods institution says Nigeria is home to 19% of the extremely poor population in sub-Saharan Africa, and that's the highest share across the region, according to World Bank's April 2025 Africa's Pulse report. Sub-Saharan Africa remains the global epicenter of extreme poverty, with the World Bank revealing that the region accounted for 80% of the world's 695 million extremely poor people in 2024. That's roughly 560 million people living on less than $2.15 a day. Over there in the spring meeting, the Managing Director of International Monetary Fund, Mr. Kristalina Georgieva, is advising the federal government to improve its tax base to meet growing infrastructural needs. But before we get to that, news that made the rounds yesterday too is that Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, accepted a recent invitation to join the private sector investment lab established by the World Bank. Mr. Dangote is among other industry executives, which include Bill Anderson, the Chief Executive Officer of Bayer AG, Sunil Bhatti Mittal, Chair of Bhatti Enterprises, and Mark Hopler-Mazien, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Hyatt Hotels Corporation. They were all invited by the World Bank Private Sector Investment Lab. In response, Nigeria's billionaires accepted the invitation, noting that being included in the group was an honor. The World Bank notes that this is under the broader expansion of a private sector investment lab, which is currently starting a new phase. The global lender also notes that the aforementioned new phase has expanded the lab's membership to include industry executives with extreme experience creating jobs in developing markets, which is consistent with the bank's growing role in job creation as a major driver of the growth. Now, the World Federation Exchanges has warned that a lack of clear, unified policies on central bank digital currencies, that the CBDC, could lead to legal confusion, market dominance by few players, and cross-border transaction challenges. In a new policy paper, the WFE emphasizes CBDC's potential in driving tokenization, making assets more accessible. It advocates for collaboration among exchanges, banks, and asset managers to establish a stable CBDC system, reducing reliance on riskier options like stable coins. And now, yes, we head back to the spring meetings where the managing director of the IMF, that's International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, is advising Nigeria's federal government to improve its tax base to meet its growing infrastructural needs. The IMF boss, who was speaking at a press briefing at the ongoing meetings in Washington, says a lot can be done to broaden the nation's tax base and reduce tax evasion through the deployment of technology. She's also cautioning the governments across the African region to avoid buffers to withstand shocks that may arise.
Continue on a path of strengthening your fundamentals. There is still a lot that can be done on the fiscal side to have strength, as I was talking about ASEAN, to have the buffers for a moment of shock. And don't use any excuses around, oh, it's difficult, we can't really go for more tax, because yes, you can. There is a lot that can be done to broaden the tax base and a lot that can be done to reduce tax evasion and tax avoidance. Using technology, as some countries are doing, to chase the tax dollar when there is the foundation for that is a very good thing to do. Second, on the monetary policy side, we no more, as I said in the opening, we are no more in a place when you can look at the book of the central bank governor of the neighboring country and say, oh, they're doing this, I'll do the same, because you have to really assess domestically what are your inflationary pressures. And do the right thing for your country. But above all, make it so that the image of the whole continent changes.
So from Washington, we come back to Nigeria, and we do have a conversation waiting for you. You know, the women are receiving a lot of attention now, and the latest here is Tech Her Demi. Her seems to come up in everything. Well, we'll tell you more about that now in our next conversation here by Tech Her Demi by TD Africa. And we have two guests right here. The first is Suliat Dare Kamorudin, Suliat, and then we have Samuel. She's a Tech Her Demi graduate. Yes. And then we have Samuel Oyeniro. He's the lead data analyst at TD Africa and the data science facilitator at Tech Her Demi. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Interesting. So since you are from TD, tell us all about this Tech Her Demi. Emphasis on the her.
Yes, so the emphasis is on the R, really. Because like the name implies, Tech Academy comes from three words: technology, R, and academy. Technology focusing on tech today, you know, with the outrage of AI in today's industries and all of that. We know that technology is shaping how we do business and how everything is done in the world
Yeah,
today.
even the IMF was just talked about technology in our
Exactly.
tax system.
Right. So the next is R. We brought that out of the SDG Goal 5, which talks about empowering all women and girls. And so we decided to do the Tech Academy program. The academy, of course, is us training these girls and women to have technological skills.
So this TD Africa, are you an academy body? What are you?
No, TD Africa is the largest indigenous distribution company of technology in Africa, in Nigeria. Precisely.
In Nigeria?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So tell us about your program, the Tech Academy program.
So the Tech Academy program was set up to reach out to girls and women so that they are able to develop technological skills and be able to get into the tech industry, be able to compete favorably with men so that they are able to do a lot of tech work. A lot of us know that tech skills are the in theme today. Everybody wants to be a tech person. But a lot of people think that it is difficult to break into tech, especially because most people study different things in Nigeria today. A lot of people do animal sciences and what have you. And so we decided to come up with this initiative to do technology academy for women and for girls so that they're able to learn all the technical skills that they need, especially focusing around cybersecurity, data analysis, and what have you, so that they have the requisite skills to function properly in today's industry.
Okay, so Suliat, you are a graduate of Tech Academy.
Yes, sir.
What area did you focus on? What did you learn? How was the experience for you?
Okay, so I'm going to be speaking on before Tech Academy experience because I'm just the average entrepreneur. I'm a Lagos girl, which have the goal.
Entrepreneur in which area?
I sell jewelry.
Jewelry.
Yes,
okay.
jewelry.
Oh.
The goal is to become, a big Idumota some days. But I heard about Tech Academy and it's opened my eyes to a different world, which I kind of like closed my mind to before then. So it introduced me to the tech world, having proper tech skills to like compete in the outside world.
So what exactly, does it keep you in your gold trade? Does it expand your gold trade? Does it take you away from that? What exactly did you learn and what's different now?
Okay, so Tech Academy, I won't say it take me away from my gold trade, but it opens my eyes to another world.
What did you see? What did you open your eyes to see?
To the tech world. Okay. I can be a data science. I learned different skills like using different tech skills, Python, those kind of skills. And it's kind of exposed me and teach me ways I can be better in that my good skills, because it doesn't take me outside of it. It makes me better in it.
Exactly. That's what I want to know, because we know that even in agriculture, tech is needed. You can introduce tech into, whatever. So I want to know what you're doing differently now. Okay. Because there are so many women like you who are watching this program and are into one trade or business, entrepreneurship or the other, and they're wondering, so what's in there for me? How can it make my business better? How can you make me a better entrepreneur, So that's exactly.
Okay, so for the Tech Academy, I learned data science. So, and there is data in everything. Trust me, there is data in everything. Tech Academy makes the way I predict my customers' behavior, what they want, the kind of jewelry that this particular person wants is different from what a 9-to-5 wants is different from what a market woman wants or someone that just wants to party wants. So it's those data collected help me to know which particular one I should stock more, depending on the environment I am. So Tech Academy opened my eyes to that.
I think that's beautiful. I mean, because it makes you a more refined trader.
Yes, sophisticated trader.
Sophisticated trader, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know, I do.
So, but apart from, Suliat, who deals in gold, we know how much gold is going for. Now, I don't know if I'm going to let her leave the studio, because gold is very expensive now.
Yes,
Who else do you target? Who are the potentials in this Tech Academy?
Okay, so currently, for this first batch that we did, our target was originally out-of-school people, ladies who were just fresh out of the university, trying to set themselves on the path for their lives and all of that. And then those of them who have technological interests were the ones we targeted first, because I mean, you have to be interested in tech before we can then decide to teach you what it is you need to know. So those were the first set of people that we targeted. And of course, we would look to reach out to students who are still in school, universities, secondary schools precisely a lot more, so that we're able to catch them young and help them grow these tech skills. So that by the time they are in the universities and then going out of university, they already have solid grip of what is happening in the tech world and solid skills for them to transition into whatever field they want to go into, irrespective whether philosophy or trading like Suliat here, or somebody who wants to get a tech job actually. Irrespective of what they want to do, we know that tech is in everything today. And so we're equipping them to get all the skills that they need.
So how do you get them? Do you go to schools? How do you pattern your studies? Because if you say you're targeting secondary school, then you have to be very intentional about your study times, you know, to fit in with that, even if they're in the university. So how do you get them and how do you pattern it so that they can stay in study?
All right, so like I said earlier, the goal is to reach out to the secondary school students eventually, but this first batch that we did was for out-of-school graduates, people who just graduated from uni and all of that, so they had a lot of time on their hands. They were not really doing a lot outside of the academy, so we were able to get them into the academy and take the bulk of their 9 to 5 during this period. But going forward, when we begin the segment with the secondary school students and all of that, we'd have to consider their academics as part of what they are doing and all of it. So we'll have to consider their academics as part of what we're doing, and then we'll be targeting their Saturdays more and their weekends a lot more, so that we're able to get the best out of them.
So when you say you're targeting, are you going to go to their parents to tell them about this? I know this is a way of telling people about it. Are you going to their schools to get, you know, their...
Of course, the easiest way to reach out to them would be to reach out to the schools. Having conversations with the schools will help us reach the children, and then reaching the children, of course, before we can do anything with the children, they need to get their parental consent and all of that. So it will be reaching out to the schools. That's the fastest avenue.
And then... can you make people have interest in it, especially the younger ones? As you said, you want to catch them young. Because we know the reality of today and tomorrow is tech.
It's tech,
you know, small level, medium level, whatever level at all. Do you get them interested, or you wait for them to be interested, you know, before they can... So I'm trying to say, what are the requirements? You know, because the requirements will also determine who can get on board.
Yes, so the truth of the matter is that for you to get into a program like ours, you need to be interested in tech, actually. But we don't need to do a lot around getting people interested in tech today, because technology is already selling itself. Right? The idea of tech, it's already all over the place. People use generative AI today, from Copilot to whatever it is. Let me not begin to name different names because we're live and all of that. So people use technology today, and of course, people get fascinated by the idea of technology. All we're doing is, you're fascinated with the idea of technology, come, let us show you how this thing works and how you can get yourself into this.
So other than your next target of the students and all, people like Suliat, who are already in the market, are you working on them also? Do they have an opening?
Yes, so eventually we're looking at, outside of those students who are in school, we're looking to also extend our frontiers to people who are already in the industry who need to upskill. People who need to upskill. So we're looking to help people develop better skills so that they are able to compete better in the market.
But how do you reach them? Do you have online presence or something?
Yes, we are online. The very first edition that we had, where Suliat is a graduate, we reached out to them on Twitter, on Instagram, and via different means.
So Suliat, tell us, how did you were just on Twitter random and then you saw them, or how?
Yes, I was on Twitter scrolling and I just saw Tech Academy. I was, you know, intrigued. Tech Academy. Okay, what's it about? And then I made my findings. Yes, and joined the class.
How long before you become a graduate? How long did the classes take?
The class was 6 months.
So it's 6 months?
Yes, it's a 6 months program.
It's 6 months for everybody who starts, yes?
No, for this batch, it was 6 months for them because we had to pick them for these ones, it was just, the prerequisite was just for them to have some interest in tech. They don't have to know anything about it. What we just need was their interest. And then from their interest, we were able to get them to learn all the skills that they needed to learn. And so
So for the next batch, what's the expression of interest going to look like?
So for the next batch, we would have to come up with something similar, except for the fact that we're reaching out to secondary school students and students in university. So we'd have to reach out to the schools, work with other bodies to ensure that the reach goes a lot further and all of that. So.
No, but I'm trying to know what would be the requirement. You said they must show interest.
Yes.
So what does that showing of interest, what does it look like? Do you have questions for them?
Oh,
Do you
yes.
give them a
So
project?
how we know that somebody is really interested in something is how much they've actually done in research in that regard. For instance, when they were being selected, they were asked questions around tech to see what they know about the idea of tech, right? So there was that questionnaire for them to fill out and all of that. So we usually take feelers from them to know, okay, where are you? What is your interest like? What have you done? Have you even sought knowledge from anywhere? I know that I'm saying you don't have to have any technical skills whatsoever, but you need to show me also that you have you are interested in tech. So we need to see what exactly you've done by asking simple tech questions, not anything big. Simple tech questions for them to answer, and then we look at them based on how well they're able to answer those questions, and then we'll bring them on board.
All right, so Juliet, what's next for you now after this class? And you now know how to dissect and diversify your customers and would-be customers. What's next?
Yes, so I got a job opportunity at TD Africa as a business analyst and still doing my business at the side.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So what's next for TD Africa and Tech apart from the, going to the secondary school students and all?
Right, so currently we're helping the girls get mentorship opportunities and job opportunities for them. Of course, Sulia mentioned that she's on board at TD Africa, helping to own her skills through the business analyst position that she got. Of course, she's currently helping us to sell technology to Africa and all of that. So we're currently still engaging the girls to help them in whatever way we can in terms of mentorship, so that whatever skill they got from us, they are not dumping into a bin. They are using it as they go and developing themselves as they go, so that truly they are driving the future of tech in Africa as we intend for them to do.
All right, thank you so much. Tech Academy by TD Africa. And we wish you the best, and you too, Juliet.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, the worrying issue of security or insecurity in Nigeria is one that nobody can actually deny at this time. The number of killings and kidnappings, and do you know that that's seeping into investor sentiment and movement of economic activities? We'll discuss that after the break. Just stay with us. Watching Business Morning here on Channels Television. The rate of insecurity mostly these days is coming from the northern part of the country, from Plateau to Benue. It's really worrisome. We've been hearing of meetings by governors, by the federal executive and the federal stage, and it's a big deal for us at this time. At some point, there were reports that the rate of insecurity is calming and we could have a bit of peace, but it seems that's not the case now. Here is the view of one of the governors on the northwest part of Nigeria.
We're having these problems in the north central, we're having them in the northeast, we're having in the northwest. What can we do? How can we come to your aid? What do you want from us? So those were the kinds of meetings that we have had. We started with Progressive Governors meeting. We went to Nigerian Governors Forum. We went to NEC this morning, and then we concluded just now with the North Central Governors meetings. And in all these meetings, issue of security were discussed at length. But I don't think it is somehow new for us. This is an accumulation of a long-time challenge that we have had. Issue of security have been in the country, for close to 20 years now. And as a result of that, you continue to have these kinds of issues that they will come on and off. So when a situation is like that, it's not yet under, you can say under siege may be a very, very tough statement to make, but action is being taken and we'll succeed at the end of the day.
That's the governor of Nasarawa State there on our sister program Politics Today last night. And it's a continuous conversation. But one conversation that seems we're not harping on is the impact on the economy. At the time, Nigeria is hoping to drive in foreign direct income. What does this do to the sentiment? Yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, we had the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria with the minister meeting with investors and trying to drive traffic to the country. Then, on the other hand, we do have the issue of insecurity. Who would want to come? Well, let's discuss this and get the perspective of the publisher of Political Economist, Mr. Ken Ugbeche, joins us now from Lagos. Mr. Ugbeche, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so for some time, it was like we had a bit of calm. We didn't hear a lot of all these killings and all. And then now it's on the news every day. If it's not kidnap, it's, a certain community have had unknown people come there to kill a number of people, bearing so many deaths at this time. And the world is watching, So from what you've been hearing, sentiment, conversations, what are some of the perspective that the world is having on these issues, especially when it comes to the economy, investment and all?
Thank you very much. The word insecurity is already a negative word. So when they label a country insecure, as global community now knows that Nigeria is insecure, it connotes negativity and it strikes fear. And where there is fear, investment sentiment is also negative because people will shy away. Nobody wants to take that kind of risk. Insecurity pushes up the risk in investments. And investors don't like high-risk areas. Nigeria has become a high-risk nation in terms of FDI, foreign direct investment. And we are not even helping matters at home because the state security apparatus have not lifted their game in a manner that suggests that they are on top of it, in a manner that suggests that they are taking care of the situation, in a manner that even brings the confidence of Nigerians in Nigeria to shoot up. Our confidence is low. People can't go by road. Even between your airport, the airport where you're traveling to airport to town, there's still that fear of insecurity. So insecurity is negative and it drives away investment. Nigeria has lost so much. World Bank just came out yesterday to say that more Nigerians will slip into poverty between now and 2027. So more Nigerians are going to jump into the poverty well. Why? Because of insecurity, because of low investment, because of lack of confidence of the foreign investors. Where there is no investment, there is unemployment growing wild. That is what we have in Nigeria. Factories are shuttering, service companies are closing shops. So the bloated youth population today, most of them are idle. But there's no vacuum anywhere. So something must engage them. Some of them take to stealing, to kidnapping. You have seen the kind of kidnapping we are even seeing now, that even you can arrange your own kidnap so that your father can pay money to your buddies, to your friends. So it has gone haywire. We have never seen it in this dimension. And I keep saying it. Just last year, MBS released a report that Nigerians in 12 months, between May 2023 and April 2024, we paid out 2.23 trillion naira in ransom. 2.23 trillion naira in ransom. A nation that does this, that nation is insidiously, I repeat the word, insidiously, without knowing it, slipping into a deeper abyss. We are talking of external investors. Our CBN governor, good thing is did, we investors to come into the country. I mean, the big investors actually. But they can't come to an environment where the people there are crying of insecurity. They don't want to take that risk. So if you look at IMF, the World Bank, because these are determinants, the statistics they give out, people study them religiously. Investors study the outlook from World Bank and IMF. They study them religiously and take in their decisions based on those data. So if we don't do something now about the growing insecurity in this country, a time will come where it will only be Nigerians investing in Nigeria. And that will not be an economy that will be robust, an economy that we will be proud of. Our economy is tanking, whether we forget what they tell you. The economy is going down. Naira is losing value. You cannot tell me that a currency that was 300 to a dollar just years back, I mean, not 5 years, I'm not talking of 5 or 10 years back, it's now 1,600, 1,700, depending on where you are changing and the exchange rate you are using. These things don't tell the story of a country that is healthy.
All right, Mr. Ogbeche. Mr. Ogbeche, so what do we do now? We see meetings, and I'm sure you've been following the stories. Governors have been meeting. The NSA has met. The president is meeting. Even last night there was a meeting. What can we do now at this time? Can we work with what we have? Do we have to wait until we get a solution? What exactly do you think we can do?
To me, to stop insecurity in Nigeria is not rocket science. I have said it half a time. If we want to stop insecurity and we are serious, the commander-in-chief, who is the president, should wear the garb of commander-in-chief and do a surgical operation on the security apparatus. The president today, President Tinubu, should probe the past security officers, the leadership of the security units, chief of army staff, chief of defense staff, the past ones. Let us know what they did with the money, humongous money voted for defense. Let us know why arms imported are not enough. Let us know why soldiers are making videos, soldiers on the front line making videos showing us what they have compared to what the insurgents have, that they don't have a superior firepower. What the insurgents have is superior to what they have. They were seeing videos of like that. The president should stop this thing I see in the security network, especially the military, where some people who were once terrorists, they say they are repentant Boko Haram, and you bring them back, you integrate them into the military, you integrate a terrorist into the military. What is repentance? What do you call repentance? That I drop my gun? Is that repentance? Do you know my mind? So the point is that, and President Goodluck Jonathan said this when he was a sitting president, that the terrorists, the insurgents, the enemies of Nigeria has infiltrated the military. That's why they give out intelligence. That's why our military men are hijacked on the way. They are ambushed. Somebody inside is giving them, the enemy outside, information. So the president must do a surgery on the military, on the police, the paramilitary. All of them must be surgically and forensically investigated. Let us know how they spend this money. What the things we bought, why are we not using, why has he even surged recently when Muhammadu Buhari bought about a dozen Tucano jets? They said they have bought more arms. So why are we seeing this ragtag army still having the upper hand, more or less?
So, Mr. Ogbeche, what do you say to those who say if we want to deal with this insecurity, we need to deal with poverty? That it's poverty that makes, a lot of the recruitment, even by this, terrorists and all of that, makes it easy because some individuals are vulnerable, so it's easy for them to be, captured into...
To be recruited, yes.
Yes. So what do you say to that?
There's no doubt there's a correlation between poverty and insecurity. A man who cannot feed is an easy recruit for anybody, any hirer. So, but there's also the correlation that says that where insecurity increases, poverty increases. Where poverty increases, insecurity increases. There is pari passu. But while we are dealing with poverty, and that poverty means that you have to revive your agriculture sector. Because people are talking about poverty when we can be productive, when we can do commercial agriculture. Of course, we made at a point in this country, just years back, when Emefiele was CBN governor. The CBN introduced the Anchor Borrowers Program. It's a very smart initiative to boost agriculture. Federal government gave out loans to farmers. That's why many of us are eating made in Nigeria, grown in Nigeria rice today. And agriculture improved. There was evidence to show that people are growing. But these same people that were going back to farm were driven away from the farm by the insurgents. So while we are tackling agriculture, tackling poverty, please contain insecurity, because it is the biggest and greatest catalyst for poverty, for unemployment, and for despondency in the system. If we tackle insecurity today, let me tell you, I just saw a young lady and a young man, Tech Academy, or powered by TD Africa. That is, Nigerians are too smart. Nigerians are very smart. One of the smartest species of Homo sapiens on the face of the earth are Nigerians. We are not beggarly. We are not begging. We are just saying, make it secure. Give us power. Take your eyes off us. We can run the world. We can run our show. That's what Nigerians are crying for. So the blame is on the commander-in-chief of the armed forces at all times, whether it's Muhammadu Buhari, Goodluck Jonathan, or all of them down up to Obasanjo from the Fourth Republic. They didn't step up the game. They didn't do enough. The incumbent must step up this game. I say it again and again. There is corruption in the military. There is corruption in Nigeria. People, they say they don't probe defense money. They don't do. No, please. The Americans are asking questions. Great Britain, they are asking questions. How money in defense is spent? All over the world, in the whole of Europe. Why can't we ask questions how defense money is? If you go out and talk to people on the front line, soldiers, young soldiers, which one will tell you an experience, sad experience. I've lost a friend. I've lost a brother. My paddy died because they overpowered us. Sometimes because they ambushed us. Because the enemy is inside the house and giving the outside enemy information about us. So President Tinubu must wear that garb of commander-in-chief. It's not enough to say, I give you marching orders. No, it's not enough. It is not enough. When something goes wrong, let us punish people. Was there intelligence? DSS is supposed to inform the security, the military or the Air Force. Was there intelligence on the movement of insurgents? How was that intelligence actionable intelligence? If it was actionable intelligence, even if it wasn't, was it properly investigated? Was it scaled up? But these are the things that we get to hear, even within the military. They were not aware, or they had wind of it. Why didn't you take action if you had wind of it? So these are the issues the president must. This security is one unit. Security, if it must be effective, must be one seamless unit. They bear different names, but the purpose is one, to secure the nation. And that they must do. And the buck stops on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's table as at now.
All right.
He should wear his garb as commander-in-chief. Yes, he should wear his garb. If he means sacking people, sack people. Have a meeting with them. Find out what is their problem. How can 200 insurgents move on motorbikes and nobody is aware of their movement? Where is the DSS? Every local government has DSS personnel, not in uniform. Why did they see this? Why did they scale up the information, the intelligence? There are questions, hard questions to ask. And expect Mr. President to ask hard questions.
All right.
Nigerians are not cowards.
All right.
We are not cowards. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Ken Ugbeche, publisher of Political Economist. Thank you so much for your views this morning.
Thank you.
And let's just switch to the global space now and tell you what's going on outside our shores. We start from the EU. European Union wants to double trade with Kenya after signing an economic partnership agreement granting the African nation duty-free and quota-free access to the bloc. Meanwhile, President William Ruto is in China for a 5-day state visit to strengthen bilateral ties, boost trade and investment, and advance infrastructure cooperation. In a joint statement, both presidents expressed their dedication to strengthening global stability through the certainty of China-Africa solidarity and cooperation. The joint statement further emphasizes that this upgraded partnership would serve as a foundation to protect the common interests of developing countries and defend a multilateral system through inclusive economic globalization. And President of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, says that both himself and President Donald Trump have agreed to meet soon to discuss key issues concerning U.S.-South Africa relations. He said that they also spoke about the need to foster good relations between the two countries. Relations between South Africa and the United States haven't been so friendly in recent times since Donald Trump returned to the White House in January. And this, they say, they will build on to solve some of those issues. Reports indicate that China's government is weighing the exemption of some U.S. goods from its 125% import tariffs as the country grapples with the high economic cost of the trade war. Officials are considering exempting levies on medical equipment and some industrial chemicals like ethane. They are also considering waiving tariffs on plane leases. China's potential exemptions mirror those seen with the U.S., which excluded electronics from its 145% tariffs on Chinese imports amid concerns over sharply increasing costs. While the U.S. does import far more goods from China than vice versa, Beijing's exemption highlights reliance on U.S. goods in some facets of its economy. But China's large trade surplus also stems from its export of goods that are crucial for several key U.S. industries, leaving investors fearful of the economic impact on both sides. Several U.S. companies were seen racing to shift supply chains away from China. The Financial Times says that Apple Incorporated was seeking to source all its U.S.-sold iPhones from India away from China. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump refuted China's claims that there were ongoing trade discussions between Beijing and Washington. The statement follows China's denial of any talks with the U.S. and calls for abolishing unilateral trade measures for resolving trade issues. Trump and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this week indicated that there could be an easing in tensions with China. The White House earlier said this month added 145% tariff on Chinese goods, to which Beijing responded with duties of its own and increased restrictions on critical minerals exports to the U.S. The Commerce Ministry comments that those of Chinese Foreign Ministry who said that there were no ongoing talks, according to the state media. Both spokespersons held to the official line that China would be willing to talk to the U.S. subject to Beijing being treated as an equal. And some of the consequences of that uncertainty and tension is in the UK, where consumer confidence has fallen to its lowest levels since more than a year, as households face rising costs, renewed fears over economic impact of the trade measures coming from the White House. The JFK Consumer Confidence Index dropped 4 points to -23 in April, marking the weakest reading since November 2023. The decline reflects the pressure from domestic tax increases, higher household bills, and concerns that Trump's tariff could trigger another inflationary wave. Well, Consumer Rights Director at JFK said that consumers had not only been dealing with multiple April cost increases in the form of utility bills, council tax, stamp duty, and road tax, but were also hearing dire warnings of renewed high inflation on the back of Trump tariffs. Now, Trump's latest round of tariffs has disrupted global markets, raised the risk of broader economic slowdown, while the direct inflationary impact outside the U.S. remains uncertain. Disruptions to supply chains could push up prices in the UK as well. Falling sentiment levels often signal caution ahead, with households potentially cutting back on major purchases as financial uncertainty grows. And emerging markets seem to have found themselves in between a rock and a hard place amid escalating trade war, seemingly forced to choose between China and the U.S., but there seems to be another way they're backing themselves. I guess what Africa is preaching, but not just Africa now. Southeast Asia is particularly vulnerable to an escalating global trade war. Goldman Sachs says it cuts its growth forecast for Asian emerging markets, saying that smaller export-oriented economies are the most exposed to tariff turmoil. Let's find out more about this, how this trade war is affecting the world, especially emerging economies, with Professor Labisi Akinkugbe. He is the Purdy Crawford Chair in Business Law at Dalhousie University in Canada. Professor Akinkugbe, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Ini. Good to join you.
Good. So we know that Canada, too, especially, I think this war really started around where Canada is. What's the position now between the U.S. and Canada?
Well, you're right. After the inauguration of the current president of the United States, he made announcements on the heels of that inauguration that due to the alleged inflow of fentanyl and the inflow of illegal immigrants, so to say, crossing the borders, Canada needed to do more to protect the borders. Canada has since done a lot of that. What we see is that Canada, like every other country in the world, has been subjected to a very turmoil situation in relation to tariffs that were impacted on what is US's easily closest trading partner. Since then, of course, there has been pauses and on pauses, and currently there's a pause on the latest set of tariffs that were announced globally, and where we see is while there seems to be some kind of calm, there remains a level of tariff that is about 25%, and those that are, really about compliant products under what is called the United States-Mexico Trading Agreement, USMCA.
So now we're also looking at emerging economies. Well, at first it was like they have to choose between China and the US, but it seems another part of the conversation comes up now where they may have another option, which is to depend on themselves, form their own trade routes. Africa has, of course, over 1 billion markets that it can deal with. And then we're looking at Asia now. South Asian countries also seem to be collaborating among themselves. And this, a lot of people have said, is the new routes, the new trade routes that the world could be seeing.
So you're right, Edie. The current moment is defined by realignment of interests, trade interests. I mean, where unilateralism and protectionism, as U.S. and power play, like U.S. is doing, has been the order. Yes, number one, countries are realigning their trade interests. And so, for example, you see Canada looking more to maybe trade more with Europe and with China rather than the very dependent relationship they've had with the U.S. As you've noted, secondly, in terms of emerging economies who have been most hit by this very unfair state of play, they are confronted with the reality that they need to think not just about new trade partners, as you said, but also think about how they trade regionally. So in that situation, if we think about the African context, we have to think about the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which for some time now has been in its implementation phase, but hasn't quite picked up as most Africans would have thought this particular agreement should do. So this is, in essence, an opportunity for African states to reimagine what intra-African trading should be like. What this means is that we have to be ready to open our borders more, to move away from non-tariff barriers that might also be the reasons why trading hasn't happened very well, and to really do more on the African Union end to ensure that freedom of movement of persons is truly a reality, other than what we talk about as happening in the future. Beyond Africa, of course, Asian countries, if you think about what India is doing, what China is doing, whether you agree or not, that they're a developing country or developed country, means that interests are being checked again. There's only so much that certain parts of the world can do with themselves. For example, you might say, what can India do with itself as a country? But surely India has tenets across other developing countries. And what will people, what academics would generally refer to as South-South types of trading will gain increase, but challenges remain because the type of products that needs to be produced to take advantage of the contemporary global value chains remains a challenge for African countries. We don't just want to be suppliers of raw materials that we've always been.
So I mean, so there are talks about the opportunities available at this time, but I wonder how much of it Africa can take advantage of when you talk about those challenges, logistics, infrastructural challenge of trade within the continent. At this time, I guess this is something that should have been prepared even before now, before the opportunities come on board amidst the trade war.
You are right. You are spot on that, Ini. Africa for too long has been on the back heel of trying to disentangle what we will call again in academic circles the legacies of colonialism. And for the purposes of our audience, let's think about the road connectivity between African states, right? It's pretty difficult. You might say it's easy somewhat to drive from Nigeria to Benin or to Ghana on the long run. But outside of those, it's pretty difficult driving on the road to different parts of West Africa. If you look at East Africa, what it takes for goods that are loaded on trucks to get cleared at borders, some of them take average of 3, 4, or longer days as well. Beyond the road infrastructure, if you think about what it takes to fly within and around Africa, it is pretty difficult. Until recently, you have to go to France to go to Francophone-speaking parts of the continent, or you have to otherwise spend very many hours doing that. Those are only 2 examples of the fact that, unfortunately, our leaders have not really put enough effort before this tariff into what it takes for Africans to trade with and amongst themselves. We also trade or produce a lot of similar products. If you look at, the West African terrain, for example, we in Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and so on and so forth, produce similar products. We have mono economy dependent on oil, and so that makes it pretty difficult to trade in the more formal sense with each other. This does not dispense the fact that informal trading is going on within and amongst these countries, a data which is often uncaptured in the analysis of how trade is going on within African continent.
Yeah.
The third thing you see that happens is also that we are still dependent on selling our products to countries outside of the continent. We are primarily producers of primary resources. That's a challenge until we can, move ahead and think about how the gold that is, extracted is in some form, shape, produced in the continent or on the state where it is explored. We won't move past this kind of shocks that we're exposed to from the actions like has been taken by the United States.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Labisi Akikugbe, Purdy Crawford Chair in Business Law at Dalhousie University in Canada. Thank you so much for your views. All right, just before we go, Meta has laid off employees in its Reality Labs division that's tasked with the developing virtual reality, augmented reality, and related wearable devices. The cuts affected unspecified number of employees at this time working in the division, which develops VR and AR games. We'll see. I hope that does not affect their operations, but of course, time will tell. But that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Morning. Yes, the market closed really good yesterday. Got a lot of gains at the NGX, but we'll give you intraday numbers later on Business Incorporated. To join me then, I'm Ini John Mekwa.